Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for your greatest support. There is a question that one of you asked me here, that why is it that William Samoei Ruto, the president of the Republic of Kenya, is so much silent on this issue of the Jubaland, Militia, the Mandera, and Isiolo attack and all that, and the issue of Al-Shabaab. And even listening to the way Murkomen is speaking, or the way Murkomen was addressing this issue, it's like it doesn't bother them. They don't care. It's like it's either there's something that they were hiding, or maybe they don't just care.
Every time there is a conflict in the Somalia side, it definitely spills over, especially if it's Bulahawa and the towns across the border. It affects Kenya. And remember that we have a good working relationship with Somalia as a country. And so when there is those challenges, there's citizens who feel endangered run from the neighboring country run to Kenya. But we cannot confirm now whether there were forces of where, who they are. It's only until you do proper security analysis and investigations that you get to know, is it forces, is it civilians, and so forth. It is also it's also important to note that such security issues are handled in as security issues. So if we reach a stage where there is any challenge, we will tell the country. But at the moment, we don't have any difficulty. The complaints that have come from citizens have been looked at. The question of occupation of school, there is no school currently being occupied, as a matter of fact. And so if there are other parts of Kenya that there is a spillover of citizens from the neighboring countries, with Somalia particularly, that will be, that's why I said the security team will work on it to make sure that they return peacefully. What our main problem in our border that we deal with as Kenya is the criminals, is the people who want to attack our country, kill people, steal property, burn, and so forth. That is really what bothers us most. But people who are running for safety, we will find ways of addressing that issue so that it doesn't also become a security challenge or a humanitarian issue in the country or security challenge. In fact, those who are asking for refugee status and to be housed and protected in Kenya, they know the procedure they go through that is enshrined in the international law. So at the moment there is no cause for alarm. There is no politicization of security is not necessary. I know there are some people who want to score cheap political benefits from it. It is not in the interest of this government or this administration to do politics or to do a political ping pong with opposition leaders and any other person on matter of security. Where there is complaints from citizens, we investigate and we deal with it in a manner that will, where necessary, where we know that national interest is being protected, we will handle it confidentially. Where information needs to be shared with the public, we'll share with the public. But our interest is to safeguard Kenya. We don't want to lose any life and we don't want to lose any property. That is our job. At the end of the day, the bottom line is everything we do across our border, whether internally or across, and I speak now under collective responsibility, whether it is involved in this ministry or another ministry, everything we do is to secure Kenya as a territory, the citizens of Kenya and their property. And everything is done in good faith, including how we handle problems of refugees and aliens getting into our country. We do it in the best interest of the country, and the strategies employed, not all of them are discussed in the full glare of cameras because national interest is extremely important.
Ruto must go. Let's go. Ruto one term. Ruto one term. Ruto one term. Murkomen must resign. Ruto must go. I didn't want
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Next.
عد هاللي سالوا غير كمان شو قايلين أنا
Jubaland haba hada. Jubaland haba hada. Jubaland haba. Ruto one term. Ruto one term. Ruto one term. Must go. Jubaland must resign. Jubaland must resign.
Watu ambao wameumiza jina za wamemaliza, yani wamemalizana huko nchi yao, wamefuruga, wamekuja hapa. Sisi hatuna vita, sisi hatuna silaha ya kujilinda. Maisha yetu iko hatarini. Sisi hapa mahali sisi tunaishi, kuna banda ile nyingine, banda ya kusini, kuna serikali kuna askari yetu iko hapo. Banda ya magharibi iko Ethiopia. Banda ya kaskazini iko banda ya serikali ya Somalia. Banda ya huko ya chini ya banda ya northern side kuna Jubaland. Hapo wanaishi hapa fahamu zetu. Tulienda kila mahali, tuliongea ya kutosha. Tumeenda kwa serikali, tumeenda kwa county, tumeenda kwa DC, county commissioner, ametuambia hawa watatolewa. Hawakutoa. Juzi alisema wako ndani na wako kwa shamba yetu. Unajua kitu kingine lazima mtu ajue ya kwamba kama hakuna amani, hakuna shule, hakuna madarasa, watoto wetu hawako kwa madarasa, hawako kwa duksi. Mwezi mbili tuliopita watoto wetu hawajasoma, wengi wetu wameenda IDP.
So that one forced me to really dig deeper into this and ask, because I was also very curious. I wanted to know why the president is not talking about this issue of Juba. Of course, he has not spoken about it. Even though a lot of people are crying, you know, the refugees, people are being sent away from Mandera, you know, the training is going on there, the KDF and all that. But he has not said anything. So during the kwa sababu nasema kwamba katika pilika zangu za kufanya utafiti na kutaka kujua mengi kuhusiana na hili jambo ambalo linafanyika kule upande wa Mandera pamoja na Isiolo, inahusisha wanajeshi wetu pamoja na Jubaland, Militia, wanajeshi wa Jubaland pamoja na wale kile kikundi cha Al-Shabaab. Kuna baadhi ya mambo ambayo nimekuja nikapata, lakini kabla hatujazungumzia kwa undani sana, wacha nikukumbushe tu kwamba mtazamaji, ikiwa hapo tunakutana kwa mara ya kwanza, naomba ukachukue sekunde yako moja ama zako mbili ukabonyeze alama subscription, ili wakati wote kuna ujumbe ambao nimeweka mtazamaji inakuwa virahisi sana kwako kuupata. I just decided to speak Kiswahili and then you know, I see how it comes. But now let us get into this discussion, because I wonder what my findings. It's really surprising. You know, reason as to why, I know even you've been asking this question, that since this issue started, Ruto have not spoken about this. The response from the CS of Interior is wanting. What is going on? Now, this is what is going on. During my research, I came across some very interesting information here, which I wanted to listen to. And I just want us to go slowly, step by step, as we understand each other, to know the root cause of all this and why the president have not spoken about it, and what is going on, what is happening, how can it be prevented, how can it work out, and all that. This is it. Apparently, Jubaland forces were created and trained by Kenya, and that's why they can't be chased. You see why the Jubaland cannot be chased in Kenya is because they were trained by the KDF, by the Kenya Defense Force. Interesting? Let's we'll continue. So, back in 2011, there was no Jubaland, and Kenya wanted a buffer zone between Al-Shabaab and our borders. So, what happened in 2001 was that there was no this issue of Jubaland. Jubaland was not there. So what Kenya wanted the wall, the distinction. Kenya wanted a distinction between Kenya and Al-Shabaab, because Al-Shabaab was so much rampant. So Kenya wanted that separation. And now they were trying to look at what can neutralize this thing, what can really separate the two of us, the Kenya and the Al-Shabaab. And by then, after Kenya had thought of that thing, of the issue of the border between Al-Shabaab and Kenya, they decided to form a militia or a force, which by then was known as Azania. So Azania militia was created and trained in Isiolo. And then after the training, this Azania was sent to Somalia. After being sent to Somalia, it later rebranded itself Jubaland Force after getting its roots. After getting good training, they went again ahead and rebranded themselves Jubaland Militia, Jubaland Force. So they graduated from Azania Militia to Jubaland Force. So during that war, in fact, I'll read for you after this. There's something that I found out. There is a snippets in I found out that I'm going to read for you after this, which was talked about by the CSIS. I'll read for you that after explaining to you all these things. So after the Amazon militia had been trained by the Kenyan force, they went to Somalia, and then after going there, they rebranded themselves and called themselves the Jubaland Force. Now, this is what the Jubaland Force did. By the time that Jubaland Force was being formed, Somalia army was very weak. So when these people, remember, the reason why Kenya trained Azania was to go and counterattack Somalian Al-Shabaabs. So after the training, they went because they thought that they were strong. They went and for the first round, they won. After winning, so Somalis also went and sat down and asked themselves that, okay, we have been defeated. So what can we do? What are we going to do? Because we also have to revenge. We also have to tell these people that we are not as weak as they think. So what exactly can we do to make sure that we defend ourselves, we defend our country, and win a war against these people? Being that the Azania or Jubaland Force was trained by the Kenyans, so Somalis also went and looked for trainers, people who can train them. And that is where now they landed into the hands of the Turks. So Somalis landed into the hands of the Turks. Then after they had trained, and then they felt like now it's time. They went and launched an attack again. And now they are the people that went to launch an attack. They went and launched an attack against now the Jubaland and took over some of the territories in Jubaland, in the Jubaland. So are you seeing now where all these things started? It started back in 2011, where after Kenya had trained the Azania or the Jubaland, they sent them to Somalia to go and counterattack Al-Shabaab. Now after attacking Al-Shabaab, they won the first round. And then after winning, they conquered and then took some of the lands. After taking, they started settling there. Now, the Somalis, this right now known as the Al-Shabaab, also went and looked for people who can train them. And they found out the Turks. The Turks trained them. And then after training them, the same way the Jubaland did, they also did, and then they came and attacked the Jubaland. After attacking the Jubaland, they won. Now after winning, now it forced now the Jubaland to run away from Somalia to come back to Kenya, and that is why unakuja napata kwamba there's some of the land of the Jubaland forces that has been occupied by the Al-Shabaab. I think up to there now tunaelewana. Now, looking at this situation looking at this issue, the issue of the Jubaland, Al-Shabaab, the way it was built, the trainees, people who trained them, and all that, I connected it with the issue of remember the Wagner and the Russians. That is exactly the same thing that happened. The Russian trained the Wagner, and then after that, they wanted to occupy and all that. I think you understand. If you ever read about the history of the Russia and the Wagner, you understand what I'm trying to say. Now, Jubaland are the allies of the KDF. Wagner were the allies of the Russians. KDF trained them. So the problem is, because they train them, they cannot send them away. It is like, let me give an example with a father and a kid. It's like you gave birth to a son, and then after giving birth to a son, you trained this boy how to, steal. After training this boy how to steal, this boy went out and stole, joined at his friends and stole. Now, after stealing, he brought to you what he has been stealing. You say that, wow, he has been bringing. So the time now came that now this boy is wanted. And in fact, he has started now, anajaribu kuleta threat kwa sababu wale watu ambao wanaiba naye are threatening to come to your home. Can you send this boy away? Remember, you are the person who trained him how to steal. So it is very difficult, and he's your son. It is very your blood. It is very difficult for you to send him away. So that is exactly what is happening with Kenya, the KDF and the Jubaland forces. They can't send them away because they're the ones that trained them. Now, what is going on, and the reasons why unaona Murkomen anazungumza jinsi ambavyo anazungumza, William Ruto amenyamaza and the KDF are silent, is because these people, the fighters, the Jubaland fighters, are blackmailing the Kenyan government. How are they blackmailing them? They are telling them, in fact, they are claiming that if they are chased away, Al-Shabaab will begin attacking Kenya, making it seems like without them, the country is unsafe. Which, according to me, I think it's somehow correct, because remember, they are the first people who fought Al-Shabaab. So when Al-Shabaab are launching an attack, they are launching an attack on the Jubaland first before attacking the KDF. Remember, our KDF, some of them don't even know how Al-Shabaab attacks. The people that understand are the Jubaland. So when Al-Shabaab are launching an attack, they first attack the Jubalands, not KDFs. So hapo naweza kubaliana nao. But now this blackmail ndio inanishangaza kidogo bana. Wananishangaza na hii blackmail yao. So are you really seeing why now William Ruto is silent about this? So that is how this thing was created. All this drama, all these things that we are seeing. So the Jubaland was trained by the KDF. And then wakaenda waka-attack Somalia. Baada ya ku-attack Somalia wakakuwa train attacks. Kenya Al-Shabaab waka-attack Jubaland. So after the attack, Jubaland wakaanza kukimbia. Al-Shabaab wakaanza kunyakua sehemu zao. So wakati ambapo hawa Jubaland sasa inabidi sasa wamekuja Kenya wanaanza kutrain Isiolo na Mandera, ili vigumu sana au kufukuza, because wanasema kwamba mkitufukuza tu twende, nyinyi mjua kwamba Kenya kuisha.
Will the Jubaland forces be transferred back to their country?
Every person who is illegal in Kenya must leave Kenya. Every person, not just, if we find those Jubaland forces in part of Kenya, they must leave, The same way we find Al-Shabaab characters in our country, and they have to leave. But sometimes they don't just leave by going. You have to fight, you have to do a lot of work to ensure that they leave. So no foreigner will be allowed to operate in Kenya, particularly to carry out military activities in our country. Our country is non-aligned on whatever conflict that may be having in Somalia. Our basic interest is to get rid of Al-Shabaab. That's all.
Between the Somali federal government and the Jubaland forces, they're affecting residents there. And last week we saw there's a woman who died after stepping on IED. And we saw Adan Khalif, governor for Mandera, calling on the government to transfer the Jubaland forces from the BP1 back to Somalia. So what is the Ministry of Interior doing maybe to solve the issue?
That's what I told you earlier. The issue of Al-Shabaab is a daily issue. It's not something that we have been like this for nearly now more than 15 years. We are almost approaching 20 years. We have been in consistent fight since we were even forced to invade Somalia at that point in time by President Kibaki because of the challenges we were facing as a country. So it's a daily problem. You know, we have so many forces, multi-agency teams across our border, from Kiunga, from Boni, all the way to Mandera and beyond, just to take care of our border. We also need to appreciate that our citizens in Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, and Lamu are bearing the greatest burden as a result of banditry. They are, you know, the biggest problem as a result of banditry. And so it is painful sometimes to see people playing around with conversation about Al-Shabaab. The complexities of governance in Somalia is also spilling over to our country. And the global complex relationship between Houthis, Al-Shabaab, you know, all these characters that facilitate movement of arms and so forth. And then the complex geopolitics of who has what interest in Somalia, you know, globally, also makes it complicated for us to secure our border. So this is a more complex issue. When you talk about forces from Jubaland hiding in Kenya and forces from the Somali government sometimes coming to Kenya, it is the accusations and counter-accusations are always there. Remember that this is one community, okay? Remember that at the border, across the border, the clans are the same. You know, the clans that are in Kenya, clans that are in Somalia. These are just colonial boundaries. But so there is also complexity in terms of knowing this is that. Now, that is not even enough. I mean, so you continue having these challenges in an area that is very vast, extremely vast. But I'm happy that the investment we have put in the country, the technology, the know-how, has helped us secure our nation. And I really want everybody interland who may not be having daily interaction with the challenges of Al-Shabaab to keep praying for our forces and to pray for our citizens at the border level who sometimes bear greatest responsibility to just protect the rest of us who are going about our business every day without fearing about IED or anything else.
Are you seeing now what happens when you sponsor militia in another country? Yeah. Now, when you sponsor militia to another country, when they are defeated, they come back. There's the same thing that is happening right now. They sponsored the Jubaland, and then they went to Somalia. Now they are defeated in Somalia. They're coming back to to their origin. It's like now they're coming back to their lineage, their bloodline. Or may follow the bloodline, their origin. They've come back to their origin, which is Kenya, the KDF. Utawaambia nini? You know, worse is coming. I feel like there is something very worse that is coming, and the worst thing that is coming is this: that one day we might are you saying this militia might just decide to militarily take over parts of northeastern Kenya and even threaten the coast. I was trying to look at the way they've arranged themselves, and I realized that these guys can even decide to attack, to take over northeastern and the coastal region, because it's a military. Watasema tu si mtuachie hapa sasa. What would you do? What would you do? Mtuachie ama tutoroke Al-Shabaab wakuje wa attack? It is difficult to deal with these people. Jubaland force is a tackling bomb that if not taken very care of, if not kama ijaangaliwa vizuri, itaenda kuleta shida sana. Si wako Kenya wataleta shida sana. And Makiu utapata kwamba hata in 2027 watapewa ID na watapiga kura. We've seen this thing happening. Watapewa ID na watapiga kura. Now, remember I told you nimekuambia that I'm going to explain to you something, the origin of the Azania, and what the CSIS said. Now that is the US and UK warned Kenya against the Jubaland forces. This is what they say, that American and British officials had discouraged the Kenyan government from intervening, urging that more time should be given to the African Union in Somali Amazon, the internationally backed transitional federal government, the TFG, and the strategy of working with local Somali proxies. The government had endorsed this last idea, and for the last 2 years have trained refugee Somalis in the so-called Isiolo Militia to operate against Al-Shabaab on both sides of the border. They have established close contacts with the 6 primarily Ogedeni Somali militias fighting Al-Shabaab, including the Ras Kamboni Militia and forces associated with the self-proclaimed autonomous region of Azania, led by former Somali Defense Minister Mohamed Abdi Mohamed, Professor Gadhi. These Somali groups have fought alongside the Kenya army since its invasion began. Brothers and sisters, what do you think? What do you think? Yeah. You know, things are just unfolding unexpectedly. These things are just unfolding, and I was like, what is going on? Kumbe, there is something that was being hidden. I would like you to tell me what you think at the comment section. Of course, I know people like Efferson Siringa. I think you were once there, late in your late 90s. You were in those sides of Mandera, Isiolo. You can explain this better. This one is just what my finding, what I did, the research that I did. You know, I was very curious why William Ruto is so much silent on this. That is why I dug deep and found out this. So you can also tell me what you think at the comment section. Do you really think that the silence of William Samoei Ruto and even the KDF is sending some signal? And if it is a signal, how are we going to resolve it? If it's a bad signal, how are we going to resolve it? If it's a good signal, then what is the way forward? Tell me what you think.